The rain fell in sharp lines across the metal roofs of the alien market. Steam rose from the hot grates in the ground. The air smelled like oil, spice, and something burnt. Bright neon lights blinked in strange alien symbols. The planet was called Kara 5, a trade hub for hundreds of species. Humans were rare here, but not unknown. Theo, a young human boy with a backpack too big for his shoulders, moved through the crowd. He kept his eyes low, careful not to look at anyone for too long. He didn't want trouble. He just wanted to trade for parts and head back to his ship before the rain got worse. But deep in his pocket, he held something far more valuable than wires or tools. A chocolate bar, not just any chocolate. Earth chocolate, wrapped in red foil, now slightly melted from the heat. It was the last one he had. The last thing that reminded him of home. He stopped near a stall selling glowing stones. The alien seller stared at him with 5 blinking eyes. Theo looked at the stones, pretending to care. But his hand reached into his pocket. He slowly unwrapped the chocolate bar. Then a small hand touched his wrist. Theo turned fast, ready to protect his food. But it wasn't a thief. It was a girl. She looked around 12, maybe younger. She had pale purple skin, silver hair tied with string, and large golden eyes. Her clothes were torn and dirty. She said nothing, just stared at the chocolate. Theo blinked. "You hungry?" She didn't answer, but her eyes never left the candy. People around them had stopped walking. One tall alien froze mid-step. Another dropped their bag of fruit. The market had gone. Strangely quiet. Theo didn't notice. He just sighed. "Here," he said, and broke the bar in half. He handed her the bigger piece. The girl stared at it, then took it slowly. She smelled it first, then took a small bite. Her golden eyes widened in shock. Then she smiled. It was the kind of smile that made people stop and stare. Suddenly, deep horn blasted across the market. Theo jumped. What the hell? From above, giant banners dropped from the towers. A strange symbol, golden lines in a spiral, glowed in the air. Aliens around him dropped to their knees. Some whispered, some trembled. Theo looked around, confused. The girl with the chocolate was still standing. She looked taller now, straighter. She turned to him and said the first words he'd heard from her. "You have made the offer." "What? You have? Given the sacred gift?" Theo blinked. "It's just candy." She touched his chest, right over his heart. "The seal is accepted." Before Theo could ask what that meant, 6 armored soldiers in silver and blue landed from above. Their armor glowed. Their boots made no sound. Each one held a spear of light. They surrounded him and the girl. Theo raised his hands. "I didn't do anything." But the soldiers didn't point weapons at him. They bowed. The tallest one looked up and spoke. "Princess Zira, the lost heir, you have returned." Theo turned to the girl. "Princess." Zira gave him a calm look. "You fed me when I had nothing. It means you are now part of the royal bond. A protector. A guide." "I just gave you chocolate." "To you, yes," she said. "Dus. It is the food of kings. Only those with kind hearts offer it freely. That is our oldest law." The crowd stayed silent. Theo looked around. His fingers were still sticky from the melted bar. His heart pounded. This had to be a joke. A bad dream. He tried to back away. But Zira stepped forward. "Do not run, Theo of Earth. You are under my shield now." Then she reached into her cloak and pulled out a small glowing stone. She pressed it into his hand. The moment he touched it, a light surrounded him, red and gold. It spun in a circle, then sank into his skin. Every alien in the market dropped to their knees, and Theo. He just stood there, holding half a chocolate bar and wondering how this day got so strange above them. Ships moved in the clouds, silent, watching, and somewhere deep in the palace, stars away, a throne began to hum. The alley was dark, wet, and narrow. It's the kind of place no one wanted to be, especially not a human. Theo slammed into the wall with a grunt. His backpack hit the ground. 3 alien bounty hunters stood in front of him. tall, sharp-skinned, with glowing red eyes. "Where is it, human?" one growled. What are you talking about?" Theo gasped. The second alien leaned in. "Don't play dumb. The seal. She gave it to you." Theo's heart pounded. The small, glowing stone Zira had pressed into his hand. He still had it. It was now tied to a string around his neck. He didn't know what it meant. He didn't know why everyone suddenly cared. "I don't want trouble," he said. "I just gave her chocolate." The third alien laughed, a short, sharp sound. "And now half the Empire thinks you're her chosen one? She's a kid." "The last blood of the House of Fire," the first one hissed. "And you marked yourself when you gave her that sacred food. Do you know what you've done?" Theo opened his mouth to answer, but the wall behind him exploded. A flash of light blew, and gold filled the alley. The bounty hunters flew backwards. Theo covered his head, coughing on smoke. Shapes moved through the dusk-glowing armor. Quiet footsteps. It was Zira's royal guards. Again, they pulled him to his feet without a word. "You need to come with us," one of them said in a flat voice. "I didn't ask for any of this," Theo shouted. The soldier just nodded. No one ever does. Theo sat in a strange floating chamber. The walls were made of soft light. Everything shimmered like it wasn't real. But it was. He could feel the cold air on his skin. Zira stood across from him. She was calm, still eating the second half of the chocolate bar. "You look scared," she said. "I almost got stabbed in an alley. That will happen again." "Great." It sat down across from him. "Theo, in our world, giving a sacred food to a royal is not a small thing. It is seen as a sign, a bond. You offered it freely. That means you are now part of my story. I didn't mean to be, but you are," she said. "The other noble families will try to stop you, because if I take back the throne, you'll be by my side." Theo looked at her. "You want to be queen?" "I have to be," she said. "If I don't, my people will be ruled by monsters. I'm not a soldier, not even brave. I fix ships. I run from fights. I'm nobody." Zira smiled. "So was I until I tasted chocolate." Outside the ship, things were moving fast. Across the stars, news of the seal had spread. The lost Princess Zira had returned. And she had chosen a human, the House of Ice, a rival royal bloodline, declared the seal false. They sent warships toward Kaari-5. The Council of Elders called an emergency meeting. The Church of the Sacred Bite, who worshipped old traditions, declared Theo the chosen giver. Some wanted him dead. Some wanted him crowned. But everyone agreed on one thing. The gift of chocolate had started something dangerous, something that would change the galaxy. Back in the ship, Theo stared at the stars through the glass window. He didn't feel powerful. He felt small. Zira joined him. "Do you miss Earth?" He nodded. "I miss being invisible. It won't be that again," she said softly. She handed him a silver armband. "This will protect you." Theo took it slowly. "And if I leave?" "You can't," she said. "Not now. The moment you gave me kindness." The stars began to watch. Theo closed his eyes. Somewhere far away, fleet was already on its way. Ships, soldiers, assassins, all coming for one human. And the alien girl who smiled at chocolate? The arena walls burned with living fire. Not fake fire, not a show. Real flames, held in place by ancient tech, climbed high around the circle-shaped battlefield. The smell of smoke filled the air. Theo stood at the center, sweating, his training. Armor felt heavy. His pulse thudded in his ears. Above him, thousands of aliens watched. Nobles, soldiers, priests, enemies, all had gathered to see one thing: whether the human could survive the trial of fire and blood. At the far end of the arena stood the champion of the House of Isa, giant alien warrior with white skin and 4 arms, each holding a weapon. His armor gleamed like polished bone. "You are weak," the champion said across the flames. "You don't belong beside royalty." Theo raised his shield. "I'm not here for you. I'm here for her." The crowd roared. In the royal booth, Zira stood silently, her face hard. She couldn't help him. By law, this fight had to happen. If Theo won, he would earn the title of blood-bound protector. making it impossible for any noble house to touch him. If he lost, he would die, and her claim to the throne would be weakened forever. The trial began with the sound of a giant gong. The ground shook. The champion charged forward, weapons spinning. Theo barely blocked the first strike. The force of it knocked him backward into the hot dirt. Sparks flew from his shield. He rolled to the side, avoiding a blade aimed for his chest. Dust and fire filled the air. His training rushed through his mind, weeks of drills, mistakes, bruises. He had practiced with real guards, but this was different. The champion was fast, brutal, stronger than any human. Theo had only one advantage: his mind. He dodged again and slammed his shield into the champion's leg. It stumbled. Theo ran behind a flame pillar. His chest burned with every breath. "I need a plan," he whispered. The champion followed, laughing. "You run well, Earth Boy." But Theo saw something. The champion's upper left arm moved slower than the others. An injury? A weakness? Waited until the next charge. Then he ducked, rolled, and slammed his training blade into the champion's bad shoulder. The alien roared in pain. The crowd gasped. Swyara stood up. Her heart raced. She wanted to scream to help to stop the trial, but she couldn't. The law was older than her family. Beside her, a noble leaned forward. "Your human may die." Zira didn't look away from the fight. "Then he dies with honor." Theo was limping now. His leg had been cut. His shield was cracked. The champion bled from 2 wounds but still smiled. "You're brave, human, but not enough." Theo held his ground. "I don't need to win, just to make you lose." The champion blinked. "What?" Theo pressed a button on his belt. A small pod flew from the sky and exploded in a flash of smoke and sent a trick Zira had built for emergencies. The smell? Chocolate. The alien champion paused, confused, distracted.
Ow.
The scent triggered something strange in his alien brain. A moment of weakness. That's all Theo needed. He jumped forward, slammed his blade into the alien's chest armor, kicked hard. The champion fell. The crowd went silent. Then cheers erupted. Later, Theo knelt in front of the royal council. His armor was broken, and his arm was bleeding. Zira stood beside him. An old priest stepped forward. "You have passed the trial. You are now blood-bound to the royal line." He touched Theo's head with a burning ring. The mark on Theo's wrist glowed brighter. Another noble hissed from the back. "He is still just a human." Zira turned. "He's a human who fought a champion of fire and lived. That makes him more than you." That night, Theo sat on a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The stars above looked so far away. Zira joined him. "How do you feel?" "Like I got hit by a building," he said. She smiled. "You were brave." "I was scared," he said. "Still am good," she said. "Fear means you still care?" Theo looked at her. "What now?" She looked up at the sky. "Now we prepare for war." It started with a whisper. Not a bomb, not a fleet, not even a shot, just a message. One that spread through the stars like a slow-burning fire. The human lives. The queen protects him. The empire bleeds from within. Inside her starship, deep in royal space, Ira stood in front of a glowing war map. Red lights blinked across the system. Signals of unrest, rebellions, ambushes. She clenched her jaw. "It's happening." Behind her, Theo stared at the map. "You think this is all about me?" Zira turned to him. "You became the symbol. A human, a protector, a problem." Theo sighed. I gave someone a chocolate bar. "Now, I'm a war symbol." "Yes," she said simply. "And they fear what else you might give." Far across the galaxy, a group of shadowed figures met in a hidden chamber made of black stone. They belonged to the high houses, old, powerful families who hated change. The queen must fall. ... "The human must vanish," said another. "We cannot strike openly," said a third. "The people love her." Then came a soft voice from the dark. "We don't need warships, just words. One whisper in the right ear can kill more than 1,000 lasers." They all nodded, And so the war began back in the capital. Strange. Things started happening. A royal pilot crashed into the training towers. The cause unknown. A shipment of medical supplies exploded. No fingerprints, no trail. A robot guard turned on its commander, said it received new orders. But from who? Zyra walked into the war room with a steel expression. They're testing us. Slowly, quietly. Theo leaned on the edge of the command table. Why not just attack? Because they want the people to turn against me first, she said. They want me to look weak. Theo frowned. Then we hit first. Zyra looked at him. You were a mechanic a month ago? Now you want to start battles? He didn't flinch. I'm learning fast. That night, a coded message reached the palace. It was sent through a secret line once used only by Zyra's mother. The message read, "They are coming. Inside help, prepare, or burn." Zyra stared at it. This code hasn't been used in 10 years. Theo stepped forward. So it's real. She nodded. Yes. And whoever sent it knows what's coming. They had 3 days. Zyra sent messages. To her few trusted allies, hidden warships were ordered to move closer. Guards were changed. Secret doors sealed. But Theo had another idea. They expect lasers, bombs, battleships. But what if we fight them with something they don't understand? Like what? Zyra asked. He held up something small, a chocolate bar. Zyra blinked. You're not serious? Oh, I'm serious, Theo said. But I don't mean candy. I mean Earth tactics. Human confusion, tricks, distraction, chaos. He smiled. We may not have the biggest army, but we've got the weirdest minds. Zyra laughed for the first time in days. 3 days passed. Nothing happened until the capital sky turned black, not from nightfall, but from 1,000 cloaked ships. I'm cloaking at once. The House of Ice, the House of Bone, the House of Shadows, all had joined together. All had come to kill a girl queen and the human who stood beside her. Inside the palace, alarms screamed. Theo and Zyra ran to the command deck. This is it, she said, voice calm. This is how our story's remembered. Theo checked his gear. Then let's give them something they'll never forget. Outside, the enemy ships moved into formation. But what they didn't know was, Zyra had kept one ship hidden. One ship older than the Empire. A weapon from before the laws. A warship banned by every council for being too powerful. And only Theo could activate it because it responded to his DNA. The hangar shook, not from bombs, but from something older, waking up, deep. Beneath the palace below, even the escape tunnels, there was a vault. It had not been opened for 300 years. Inside it slept something built before Zyra's people even. Ruled the stars. A machine of war. Of terror. Designed by Earth, banned by all. Its name was simple. Exodus-9, and its pilot code matched. Theo's DNA, Theo stood at the vault door. His hand hovered above the glowing panel. Are you sure about this? He asked Zyra. She nodded. Once it wakes, there's no turning back. He took a breath, then pressed his hand down. The wall shuddered. Lights turned red. Steam hissed. From the edges, the giant door opened slowly. A cold wind swept out from inside. There it was. Exodus-9. It was like nothing Theo had ever seen. Not sleek, not shiny, just pure, brutal metal. Black plates. Spikes. Old Earth tech, mixed with alien wires. Cannons the size of houses. Engines made to rip through stars, and on its side burned into the hull. Designed by humans, feared by all. Above the city, the enemy fleet had formed a wall of steel in the sky. Thousands of ships. Fighters, bombers, flagships, all waiting. For Zyra to surrender, in the royal tower, she sent one final message to her people. They came to take our future. But we are not done. Not yet. If you can hear this, look to the sky. The city held its breath. Then the mountain split open. A massive blast of blue flame. Shot upward, Exodus-9 roared from the mountain, fire pouring from its engines. Its wings. unfolded like a beast stretching for the first time in centuries. People looked up in shock. The nobles gasped. Even enemy ships paused, scanners failing to understand what they were seeing. Inside the warship, Theo sat in the cockpit. He didn't fully understand the controls, but the ship responded like it knew him. As if it had waited for this moment, the voice of the ship spoke in old Earth language. "Welcome, pilot. Protocol. Planet Defender. Kill mode. Unlocked." Theo muttered, "Cool and terrifying." The first wave of enemy ships opened fire. Lasers filled the sky, but Exodus 9's shield matrix flickered to life. Every shot bounced off like water. Then Theo pressed the trigger, and the sky turned white. One blast from the forward cannon cut through 12 enemy ships in a line. Another turned. A flag shipped into dust. Enemy commanders screamed. They called for retreat. But the rest of the fleet was already trapped, surrounded by fire, falling debris, and the growing roar of rebellion. Zira watched from the palace window. Her people were rising. Her enemies were fleeing. And beside her stood a human who had once just offered a candy bar. Now was piloting the most dangerous ship in the galaxy. As the battle raged on, a final enemy dreadnought moved in. It was massive, covered in thick armor and bristling with weapons. Its captain sent one message. "You are outnumbered. You're only one ship." Theo grinned. He replied, "That's your first mistake." Exodus 9 fired all weapons at once, and the dreadnought shattered like glass. Silence returned. The fleet was gone. The people cheered, and deep in the heart of the ship, something ancient whispered again. Phase 1 complete. Awaiting final order. Theo looked at Zira. "What's Phase 2? He asked. She looked out across the stars, taking the throne. The palace gates were closed, not from fear, but from something else. A coronation. Zira was finally going to take the throne. But the palace halls were not safe yet. Shadows still moved. Old enemies still whispered, and someone deep inside the royal walls was waiting with a blade. Theo stood just outside the main hall. He wore new armor, lighter, stronger, gifted by the royal smiths. Across his chest was the symbol of Exodus 9. Glowing faintly, he wasn't just a protector now. He was something more inside the throne chamber. Thousands had gathered, leaders from distant stars, survivors of the old war, people who had seen Zira fight, speak, and rise. The music started. Zira stepped forward, but her eyes kept moving, searching. She knew something didn't feel right. She wasn't wrong. Above, the shadows of the balcony, an assassin pulled out a hidden weapon. It wasn't a gun. It was worse. A nerve disruptor, silent and invisible, meant to make the target die slowly, their heart stopping in seconds. He took aim at Zira. He whispered, "Long live the old ways." Then he fired, but nothing happened, because standing between him and the queen was Theo. The blast hit Theo's shoulder. He fell to one knee. Pain shot through him like fire. But he didn't move aside. He stood up, faced the assassin, and threw the weapon Zira had once given him, a small blade from her childhood. It hit. The assassin dropped. Guards rushed in. The crowd shouted in fear. Some ran, some froze. Zira ran to Theo, catching him before he fell. "You idiot," she said, tears in her voice. "I promised you," he said, his voice shaking. "No one touches you. You could have died." Smiled weakly. "You're worth it." They rushed him to the healing chambers. Royal doctors worked quickly. Poison had almost reached his heart. But the Earth-made tech in his armor had slowed it down. He would live, but he'd carry the pain for life. 1 week later, Zira stood on the throne again, this time with Theo at her side. She raised the royal fire staff, the final symbol of the crown. "I'm not queen because of blood," she said. "I am queen because I protect those who have none." She looked at Theo. "This human gave me candy when I was nothing. Then he gave me courage. Then he gave me victory. The crowd went silent. Zira turned to him. So now, I give him something in return. She held out a small box. Inside was a ring shaped from steel melted off Exodus-9. Simple, strong, unbreakable. Theo blinked. Is this what I think it is? Zira smiled. It's exactly what you think it is. Later, when the celebrations faded and stars filled the sky once more, Theo and Zira sat on the palace roof. Just the two of them. He handed her something, wrapped in silver foil. She opened it. It was a chocolate bar. The last one in my jacket, said. She took a bite and smiled. Still tastes like magic. Across the stars, people whispered there. Story. A human and a queen. A candy bar and a crown. It's a warship and a war. They won together. And every child in every world grew up hearing the tale of the day. One sweet mistake made a queen, made humanity unforgettable. The doors opened with a deep hum. Theo stepped inside the glowing hall. He had never seen anything like it. The floor floated. The walls moved like water. The lights didn't come from bulbs, but from the air itself. Strange symbols danced above. His head, alive and shifting. A throne sat at the center, floated high above the ground, covered in gold and silver threads. And on that throne sat Zira, but she didn't look like a lost girl anymore. She wore dark royal robes, glowing armor. On her shoulders, in a crown of light hovering just above her silver hair, her golden eyes stared down at him not as a friend, but as something more. Step forward, Theo of Earth, she said loudly. Her voice echoed through the chamber. Theo hesitated, looked at the guards beside him, tall warriors with sharp armor and glowing eyes. They didn't move. No one smiled. Theo took a shaky step, then another. The floating floor responded to his weight, rising toward the throne. He stopped in front of her, heart pounding. Zira, what is this? Smile. You gave me the sacred gift. Now I return the honor. She stood and raised her hand. I name you protector of the royal bloodline. Bound by the seal, defender of the line of fire. A flash of red light shot from her hand and wrapped around Theo's wrist. It burned, but not painfully. More like fire inside his skin. When it faded, a mark was left behind. A glowing red line around his arm. The crowd gasped. Aliens in the shadows whispered. One noble shouted from behind a pillar. He's just a human, a pet, not one of us. Zira turned slowly. He is more than you ever were. Theo took a step back. Zira. What does this mean? She turned to him. Her voice was softer now. It means they cannot hurt you without war. It means you wear my protection. It means you are now part of this empire. Theo's head spun. I didn't ask for this. She nodded. But you offered kindness when no one else did. That's more rare than power. The hall shook slightly. An alarm flashed in the air. A soldier stepped forward. Enemy ship has entered orbit. House of Ice. 2 war cruisers, demanding surrender of the human. Zira's golden eyes burned like fire. Prepare the shields. Later, in a quiet chamber lit by soft blue light, Theo sat on a long silver bench. He held his head in his hands. His fingers shook. I was fixing engines 3 days ago, he whispered. Now I'm a royal protector. Zira entered quietly. She sat beside him. They will come for you again, she said. Some fear humans. Others fear change. Either way, they will fight. I don't want to be a hero, Theo said. Zira nodded. I didn't want to be queen. He looked at her. She looked tired. Smaller somehow. I don't even know how to fight, he said. You will learn, and if I don't. Then we both die, she said simply. Theo laughed. It was bitter. Great. Zira stood and placed a small object in his hand. Around. Stone cold and heavy? What is this? He asked. A command key, she said. It links to my ship. Only you and I can use it. Theo blinked. You trust me that much? I have to, she said. You're not just a protector now. You're part of the royal bond. If you fall, I fall. They stood in silence, far above them in orbit. The enemy ships waited. More were coming. And Theo once just a boy with a backpack, was now at the center of something too big to understand. But there was no turning back now. The snow was falling silently on the mountains of Dara-7. The cold air bit at Theo's skin, even through his thermal jacket. He pulled the hood tighter around his head, boots crunching through deep snow. Every breath came out like smoke. Behind him, Zira walked slowly, her robes now replaced by scout gear black and gray, with a glowing belt around her waist. Her golden eyes scanned the white cliffs ahead. "Why are we here?" Theo asked. "You said this was a secret base?" "It is," Zira said softly, "but not mine. It belonged to my mother. She left something hidden here, something we need to win this war." Theo sighed. "I was hoping for a heater." Zira smiled slightly, but didn't stop walking. They had landed hours ago in a small scout ship. No guards, no weapons. Just the two of them. Why? Because no one could know they were here. Because someone, on her own royal council, was leaking their movements. And worse, assassins were hunting them. Up on the icy ridge above, 3 dark shapes crouched low behind jagged rocks. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Their helmets glowed red. Their rifles were long, silent, and deadly. They were known only as the 3 Teeth Killers. Trained by the House of Ice, paid with gold and promised honor if they killed the Earth Protector, for he became a true threat. Theo, the girl. A bonus, their orders were clear. No survivors. Theo and Zira reached a narrow pass. Ice walls rose high on both sides. "I don't like this," Theo whispered. Zira nodded, too quiet. Suddenly, a sharp blast echoed through the canyon. Theo fell sideways into the snow, heart pounding. Beam of red energy missed his head by inches. "Ambush," Zira shouted. She rolled behind a stone wall, pulling out a small blade that glowed blue. Theo scrambled behind her. "They found us," he gasped. "No," she said coldly. "They were already here." Second shot hit the stone beside him, exploding in a burst of white sparks. Theo looked around. "What do we do?" Zira tossed him a small cube. "Press it now." He did. Expanded into a round shield, crackling with energy. He raised it just in time as a third blast slammed into it. Zira leaped forward, fast and silent, vanishing into the snow mist. Theo stayed low, breathing hard. His fingers gripped the shield. He wasn't a soldier, didn't know how to fight. But the enemy didn't care. One of the assassins dropped down into the pass stall. Armored, holding a long blade. Theo backed away. "Stay back." The assassin raised the blade. Then Zira came from the side like a shadow. She struck fast. Her blue blade hummed. Sparks flew. The assassin fell. Theo blinked. "You killed him?" Zira didn't answer. Her face was tight, focused. "There are 2 more," she said. High above, the second assassin aimed his rifle at Theo's head. He pulled the trigger, but nothing happened. He looked down. Theo had vanished. Then he heard a sound behind him. "Too late, Zira."
Stabbed upward from the cliff.
Below, her blade piercing the assassin's armor. He screamed once, then fell. 1 left. Theo was running. Snow blasted into his face. His boots slipped. But he didn't stop. He had dropped the shield. His hands were empty. Then the third assassin jumped in front of him. Tall, silent, armor painted. Black dot. Theo froze. The assassin raised his rifle. Time slowed. Then, Theo did the only thing he could think of. He threw the chocolate bar. It smacked into the assassin's face. The alien paused. It's confused. That was when Zira tackled him from the side, knocking the weapon away. Theo grabbed the rifle. He pointed it then. Stopped. Zira was standing over the assassin now, her blade ready. "Wait," Theo said. "Don't." Zira looked at him. "Why?" Theo stepped forward. "It's because if we kill every enemy, we become like them." The assassin stared up at them, waiting for death. Zira slowly lowered her blade. "Leave," she said. "And tell your masters we are not afraid." The assassin ran into the snow and vanished. Later, Theo and Zira stood at the top of a frozen tower. She held a glowing Kira covered from the ruins below. Theo leaned on the wall. That was insane. He did. Well, Zyra said, I threw a chocolate bar. And that saved your life? Theo laughed quietly. That stuff really is magic, huh? Zyra smiled. To us it always was. Far above them, stars moved in silence. But down here in the cold snow, the war had already begun.